baby. Alright, so we just got some huge news right now. So as you know, they have got to deal with IGN. I mean, by they, I mean Sega for Sonic Frontiers, and that's why IGN's been getting all of the drops and the scoops, alright? And they just dropped a big one. And we got another article we need to talk about, and shit is really heating up, okay? They are hyping the shit up, and they are saying some things that are putting people on trains that may have hype on the side. But I still need to compose myself, but we're going to get into this. But before that, something really important has happened, okay? A 28-year debate in the Sonic community has finally been solved. Sega did an official tweet asking, how do you pronounce Hydrosity Zone? Almost 100,000 votes, and naturally Hydrosity won, and the bad sounding one lost. And because languages are based on people using them, and more people are saying Hydrosity, that means that our way of saying it is the better way to say it, and that's just how the world works. As the Kaze Blade said, Hydrocity may be correct, but Hydrosity is right. But if you're subscribed to the channel already, please make sure to subscribe. We are trying to hit 100,000 subscribers and hopefully 7,000 subscribers before Sonic Frontiers comes out. So we're going to get into the IGN interview first, and then we've got another interview that interviews Iizuka afterwards. So it says here, Sega explains what Sonic Frontiers open zone structure actually means. Sonic Frontiers secret weapon. Sonic Frontiers will be the first new 3D Sonic title since 2017's that wasn't 3D. Unlike previous level-based endeavors, however, Sonic Frontiers will be the series' first title to boast a vast and freely explorable world, which Sega refers to as open zone. So why is this an open zone as opposed to an open world? Director Morio Kishimoto told IGN all about it. Kishimoto refers to an open zone as Sonic Frontiers' secret weapon. Level-based platformers often have a world map. Our open zone is a world map, only we've made it entirely playable, Kishimoto stated. A playable world map that includes stage-like elements is something that hasn't really been done before, even though Unleashed already did it, so we had to come up with a new name. What is often defined as a world in other level-based platformers is called a zone in Sonic games, so we took that and combined it with open, which refers to a freely explorable field, so that's what open zone stands for. Kishimoto sees the open zone as an evolution of the traditional world map, of course, one that has been tailored to match Sonic's high-speed gameplay. Super Mario Bros. 3 was released in Japan in 1988. I believe this was the first game to introduce a world map. It's kind of crazy that Mario really just introduced a world map, like they really pioneered shit. But anyway, the system has been used by countless platformers since, even to this day. The true evolution of this structure is what we see as the essence of Sonic Frontiers' field. We wanted to provide a next-gen level-based platforming experience, but how do we evolve a level-based platformer like Sonic into this new open zone? That's what Sonic Frontiers is all about, said Kishimoto. Usually, a level-based platformer's world map is an area from which the player departs to various stages. However, going from Kishimoto's explanation, Sonic Frontiers Open Zone is much more than just a 3D hub world of the likes of Super Mario 64 or Sonic Adventure. The Open Zone stands central in Sonic Frontiers gameplay, and as the game's levels exist as elements within this area, from grind rails to platform objects, loops, and so on, the Open Zone is packed with the athletic action we love in Sonic games, Kishimoto explained. Since the Open Zone's design was based on the concept of a world map, Kishimoto sees Sonic Frontiers as a rival to other platformers such as Mario, Kirby, and Donkey Kong, rather than other free moment experiences. Mario's recent 3D endeavors have been more open-ended as well, and Super Mario Odyssey and Bowser's Fury seem to share similarities with the direction that Sonic appears to be taken in Frontiers' open zone concept. What should differentiate Sonic Frontiers from such titles is, as always, pure speed, and also momentum, since Odyssey actually has some. In the open zone, the high-speed gameplay can carry players in any direction without the limitations of a stage or course. In previous Sonic titles, we had to gradually make the stages more difficult in order to reach an amount of playtime that would satisfy players. It is natural for level-based platformers to become more difficult as you progress. However, for Sonic games, the problem has always been that higher difficulty can get in the way of the game's sense of speed. Oh, this is definitely Kishimoto talking about this shit. In Sonic Frontiers, the open zone offers a lot of content already, so raising the difficulty in order to increase the playtime was no longer necessary. From start to finish, we were able to maintain a sense of speed with ideal level design for a Sonic game. So he's made the shit easier because it's long enough now. Going by Kishimoto's comments, the contradiction between speed and platforming, a balance that's always challenged the Sonic series, although done perfectly in Sonic Heroes, could have been solved by the open zone's new structure. Kishimoto added that instead of an increase in difficulty, Sonic Team has found new ways to challenge the player, so Sonic Frontiers won't be an experience that players will find too easy either. I wonder what these new challenges are, because this is not sounding good. The open zone also gives room for more diverse gameplay. gameplay. Sonic Frontiers comes with a more fleshed out combat system as well as puzzles scattered throughout the open zone. The latter will offer some quieter moments, a rarity in Sonic games. Some of the puzzles are brain teasers, while others test your action techniques or play out as a minigame, Kishimoto explained. Kishimoto assured us that the game's main focus remains on Sonic's exhilarating sense of speed, which is why tackling these puzzles is mostly optional. That being said, we've included ways for players to get hooked by the puzzles, so please look forward to that, Kishimoto added. With the implementation of the open zone, Sonic Frontiers boasts a lot more content than previous Sonic games. Kishimoto says that it should take the average player between 20 and 30 hours to finish the game, while completionists can easily spend double the time to see everything. So 60 hours. To keep the player motivated throughout the journey, Kishimoto and his team decided to implement character progression to accompany the longer playtime. While this might be unusual for a level-based platformer, we've decided to implement a skill tree and the ability to level Sonic up, said Kishimoto. And we've already seen a leak of the skill tree before, but it's like low resolution, so we can't really see what everything does, but it is there. Interestingly, Sonic's speed itself can also be leveled up. When running, a speedometer indicates just how fast Sonic is running, and this can be upgraded. Details like this seem to indicate that no matter how much the open zone shakes up the formula, the main concept of what makes a Sonic game hasn't changed one bit, minus the momentum that Kishimoto has taken out. In previous titles, Sonic fans have enjoyed time attacks for each stage. For Sonic Frontiers, doing a speed run for the entire game might be a fun challenge, Kishimoto said with the well, I mean, you could do that with every game, so saying it like Frontiers has added the ability to speed run or some shit like that is not really true. We've got another article that we need to get into, but before that, I want to quickly discuss this one. It seems like Kishimoto wants to go more for that Odyssey feel than that Breath of the Wild feel, and I kind of understand that because Odyssey is the multiple islands kind of thing, and this game has got, well, 4 islands according to the leaks, and then you've got levels within them, which Odyssey had those little sections that you would do like platforming challenges in, and then you'd go back to the main open world and do stuff within there as well. So Odyssey is kind of more similar to this game than Breath of the Wild, which is a good thing because I said that Sonic should copy Odyssey instead of Breath of the Wild, right? But it looks like they're taking elements from both, like maybe story more like Breath of the Wild, but then the gameplay structure more like Odyssey, just nowhere near as many islands. And the game being 20 to 30 hours is pretty amazing. There's a lot of content there, but I don't like the way Kishimoto's talking about difficulty because, again, difficulty, especially in the early days of gaming, was seen as a way to extend the length of the game. The games are like an hour long. Like if you're good at Sonic 2, you can beat that in under an hour. But because they knew that they were charging big money for these games, they needed people to come back to them and sink hours into them. Difficulty was seen as a way to make games longer, right? Almost like a workaround for short games. But now that we've got these 20 to 30 hour games, he's almost saying, well, we don't need to make the game hard anymore because, well, there's enough length, so fuck that. But it's like, you could still have some difficulty. It doesn't mean make it fucking insanely difficult, but the idea that, well, it's long enough now so we can keep the whole thing like on a similar level of difficulty, I don't agree with that. Plenty of open world games have proven that you can have some difficulty progression even if the game is pretty long. As long as people have the ability to retry and there's checkpoints, I don't see how this would be a major issue. Like even when you play Odyssey, you can tell that something like Cascade Kingdom is way easier than Bowser's Kingdom, right? Kishimoto does claim that instead of an increase in difficulty, there's new ways to challenge the player though, but until we see what those new ways are, I don't know. It's probably some kind of bonus mission shit, and I mean that can still be fun. I mean Odyssey was a pretty piss easy game as well, especially with the main content, but then it did have darker side, which was tough. Although to be fair, no checkpoints isn't my ideal kind of difficulty. So I'm guessing the main game is not going to progress much in difficulty, but there'll be some side missions or some bonus ranking related things that will have difficulty, and I guess if implemented well, that could still be fun. Maybe the cyberspace levels will have hard versions of them that are optional, but you could still do them. I don't know. It all depends on the implementation. But given that Kishimoto is the one doing it, and just the way he's even talking in this interview, he's giving off serious dashing like a maniac vibes, and like difficulty will get in the way of dashing around or some shit like that. I don't know. Like these are the red flags that I've always had with Kishimoto. But on to the Iizuka interview. We got this interview from Axios, and it says here, new Sonic the Hedgehog game has had a rough debut. The next Sonic the Hedgehog game is getting unusually negative early, but unusually demonstrating the hazards of even the most carefully coordinated marketing. What are you talking about? I'm not gonna read the whole thing because honestly, there's some people that played it at the booth. This is what these people are, and they spoke to Iizuka, and Iizuka said some things, and we're going to focus on those things, right? He says it's not quite open world as it initially appears in footage. It's not a go anywhere, do anything in one huge world kind of game, which he believes has thrown observers. Rather, Frontiers' 60-person team is creating a series of 3D playgrounds on differently themed islands where Sonic can run, jump, and battle. The game will have linear stages too. And in this way it gets interesting. Iizuka believes some fan confusion stems from the simplicity of what's been initially shown, so even they know it's simple. This is just the first island, he said of the demo running in LA. Maybe it's going to feel easy, but later on you will need more technical skills to get to certain places. And I assume what he's talking about here is probably similar to what Kishimoto was saying, but in a way that sounds contradictory. Kishimoto is making it seem like the difficulty is not really going to progress much, but there's going to be other challenges. My assumption is that maybe there'll be something in the open world that requires some movement or some ability or some technical know-how to get to, but it's probably going to be optional, and only those who really care about going for it will go for it. You know, like star coins and New Super Mario Bros, shit like that. So those who care about challenge will have to go and basically look for it themselves, because if they follow the main path, they might not find enough of it. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. We had a lot of problems in the beginning, he said. We've never done this before. And basically the team has remained remote, though Iizuka seems pleased with how the project has come together. What's next? Iizuka's team has much more to show and is planning further announcements about the game throughout the summer, when he hopes more hands-on time will improve people's impressions. So yeah, Iizuka is basically gassing the game as usual, but I found it interesting that they confirmed that 60 people are working on this game, because it kind of gives us an idea of the scope of the budget, right? Because I mean, Breath of the Wild took a similar amount of time to make, but they had like 300 people working on that. That's 5 times the people. Well, of course, Breath of the Wild is a bigger game, because like, if you go to how long to beat, it says 50 hours to beat that game for the main story, not including all the additional content, whereas they're saying 20 to 30 for Sonic Frontiers, which realistically means 20 for those of us who aren't plebs. No offense. For me, again, nothing has really changed extremely by looking at this. I mean, at least we got a confirmation on the length of the main game. We still don't know the length of the cyberspace levels, how many there are, how many islands there are, unless the leaks are correct and it is 4 islands, 28 cyberspace levels. We just know that there's multiple of both, right? But if the 4 island leak is to be believed and the 28 cyberspace levels is to be believed, then that means every 5 to 8 hours you're going to be doing around 1 island and 7 cyberspace levels, right? Assuming you just focus on the main content. And seeing the cyberspace levels is going to be paramount to knowing how I'm going to feel about that part of the game and just the game as a whole. As for the open world, it is going to seem like the main story is going to be a pretty simple campaign, not too difficult. They want everyone to be able to get through it. And I guess the quality of these optional, harder challenges is going to determine how much fun I'm able to get out of it once the main game gets too simple. Now again, easy games can still be fun for someone who wants a challenge. Like again, Odyssey was not a hard game, but it was fun because Mario's moveset was so fun and acrobatic to use that you could do the same easy things, but then do them faster with better abilities because you knew what you were doing. Like someone would take the long way to do something and you would use like your long jump and cappy throws and dives and shit like that and wall jumping across buildings to do the same thing faster, and that would make you feel like your skill is actually being appreciated here. But with Sonic, I don't know what ability he's got that's going to make him feel like he can do the same thing faster as someone else when everyone can just hold the boost button, right? There's no manipulation of momentum that's going to differentiate between someone taking some regular platforming route and you just like skipping through it, right? I don't know, maybe an air boost, I don't know. So that difficulty and lack of momentum, we're going to see how much that affects the experience of the game, but those are definitely my biggest red flags for the game so far until we see cyberspace and I can really assess that. And Kishimoto going on a spree about how difficulty is not the focus is definitely upsetting, because again, I know there's hardcore Sonic fans and even some casuals who want easier games, but when it comes to difficulty, a lot of Sonic fans want that, and these other challenges, they better be worth our while, that's all I'm saying. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the situation. Kishimoto and Iizuka have spoken yet again. They're really taking this marketing one seriously. Are you more or less hyped for the game based on this information? And of course, a big shout out to all my channel members. If you want to become a channel member, you can click the join button next to the subscribe button. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Premy out.